TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel aims to deepen its military pressure on Hamas, vowing to ensure that the terror group will never govern the Gaza Strip. The European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell fails to garner support from EU member states to end the European institutions' dialogue with the State of Israel. The United States urges the international community to double down on pressuring Hamas to agree to a hostage release deal in exchange for temporary cessation of hostilities. Israel will deepen its military efforts versus the Islamist Hamas with unrelenting focus aimed at preventing the terror group's aspiration to maintain its governing capacity in the Gaza Strip. In a tour of the central part of the enclave, alongside Defense Minister Israel Katz, IDF Chief of General Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, and ISA Director Ronen Bar, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also emphasized that Israel continually does everything in its power to return the hostages back home.
I am here on the Gaza coast with the Defense Minister, the IDF Chief of Staff, the ISA Director, and our heroic commanders and soldiers who are doing amazing work here. Here in the center of the Strip and throughout the Strip, they have achieved excellent results toward our important objective: Hamas will not rule in Gaza. We are eliminating its military capabilities in very impressive fashion. We are moving on to its governing abilities, and we are not yet done. Hamas will not be in Gaza. We are also making an effort from here and everywhere to locate our hostages and bring them back. We are not relenting here. We will continue to do so until we bring them all back, both the living and the deceased. I also want to say to those who are holding our hostages, whoever dares to harm our hostages will pay the price. We will pursue you and we will find you. To those who want to leave this entanglement, I say, whoever brings us a hostage will find a safe way out for himself and his family. We will also give $5 million for every hostage. Choose, the choice is yours, but the result will be the same. We will bring them all back.
Defense Minister Israel Katz, for his part, echoed the Prime Minister's remarks while further asserting that Israel will not cease its operational activities until its war objectives are achieved.
The most important task, which all regarded as such here, is to extract the hostages back home. For this purpose, we are fighting here and doing everything necessary, and to defeat Hamas. We must ensure that Hamas won't rule here in the day after the war. Therefore, everything that had happened here and all that will happen, we will complete this task.
Earlier in Brazil, during a statement by outgoing President Joe Biden at the G20 summit, he stressed Washington's leading role in providing approximately $4 billion in humanitarian aid to separate regions of need around the globe to include the Gaza Strip.
Gaza, as I've said before, Israel has the right to defend itself after the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. But how it defends itself, even as Hamas cruelty hides among civilians, matters a great deal. The United States has led the world in humanitarian aid to Gaza. And we're going to keep pushing to accelerate a ceasefire deal that ensures Israel's security, that brings hostages home, and ends the suffering of the Palestinian people and children. I ask everyone here to increase the pressure on Hamas, which is currently refusing this deal.
Following those remarks, which were also echoed by outgoing Secretary of State Antony Blinken, State Department spokesman Matthew Miller highlighted the Biden administration's anger over a phenomenon of looting of humanitarian aid by local Islamist and crime syndicates in the Gaza Strip.
And the people who are looting humanitarian assistance for their own ends are taking food and medicine out of the hands of civilians, including children, who need it, incredibly desperate people who need access to this food, and anyone who is stealing or diverting humanitarian assistance for their own profit, for their own gain, is quite obviously harming their own people, and they should stop immediately. That's the first thing that I think needs to be made clear when it comes to looting. Second, when it comes to looting, so what we have seen is a breakdown in the security situation inside of Gaza, and there are a lot of reasons for the breakdown in that security situation. And what we are trying to work through is with the IDF, with COGAT, with the relevant UN agencies to find solutions to get more security assistance delivered to the people that need it.
It is important to explain that the majority of those crime syndicates are operated by no other than the Islamist Hamas. After they loot the incoming trucks from all of their goods, Hamas then, alongside its terror affiliates, blatantly sells the goods to local Palestinian population in need, making significant profit. And while the Islamist Hamas manages to maintain control over much of the enclave via the looted goods, the Palestinian truck drivers are evidently complaining over the growing danger to their lives.
There are aid shipments that went through to Gaza from various checkpoints, like Tulkarm and Tarkemiya, and from Palestinian areas in Israel through Kerem Shalom crossing. Unfortunately, after these trucks went through the crossing, around 150 trucks, they were looted at gunpoint a kilometer away from the crossing. Of course, we get worried for the Gazan driver that comes to transfer the aids, and which are not merchandise, so he leaves his home risking his life, not knowing if he will go back home from gangs and the thieves, and the armed gangs in Gaza.
It is worth highlighting that while the Islamist Hamas continues to reject any outline for a resolution to the Gaza Strip, while holding 101 hostages captive for over 410 days, alongside hurting the Palestinian population at large, the EU's outgoing foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, who is a vocal opponent of the State of Israel, was eagerly trying to convince EU member states earlier this week to take measures against Israel using unsubstantiated narratives as well as data provided by the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza to back his own position.
Apocalyptical situation in Gaza, where 70% of the death toll is being paid by children and women. 70% of the casualties are children or women. In Lebanon, 100,000 houses destroyed. In Gaza, 2 million people from one side to the other of the strip. The most frequent age of the casualties in Gaza is 5 years old. The most frequent age of the casualties in Gaza is 5 years old. This is a war against the children.
Thankfully, the outgoing EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy failed to convince the 27-member bloc, with the vast majority of EU member states rejecting Borrell's personal aspirations to target Israel. Turning to the Red Sea, where the Iranian proxy Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe in Yemen, has once again launched an attack against a cargo ship in the strategic waterway.
In victory for the injustice of the Palestinian and Lebanese people, and in support of the Palestinian and Lebanese resistance, the naval forces of the Yemeni armed forces, with the help of Allah Almighty, carried out an operation targeting the ship Anadolu's in the Red Sea with a number of appropriate ballistic and naval missiles. The hit was accurate and direct, thanks to Allah. The Yemeni armed forces confirmed their continuation in imposing a naval blockade on the Israeli enemy and targeting all ships linked, heading to, or dealing with it, as well as their continuation in targeting the Israeli enemy with missiles and drones, and that these operations will not stop until the aggression stops, the siege on the Gaza Strip is lifted, and the aggression on Lebanon stops.
It is important to know that the Iranian proxy blatantly lied about successfully targeting the civilian vessel after the cargo carrier ignored calls by the Houthis to turn around and leave the Red Sea. The ship's captain reported that a missile splashed in close proximity to his vessel as it traveled in the southern Red Sea near the strategic strait of Bab el-Mandeb. Thankfully, no injuries or damage were reported. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, if you're blessed by our productions, which are exclusively donation-based and as such broadcast free of charge, please consider making a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.